This is Border Battle with King and CJ with King.
You want to go get a hot dog at halftime? Well, guess what? You can also take the under in the second half of 25. You know what I mean?
And CJ.
You can win Super Bowls right now with me and Grandpa Brady over here. Let's do it that way.
Presented by the fine students and faculty of the Oklahoma State University School of Media and Strategic Communications in beautiful Paul Miller Building. Broadcast live on KXZY, OSU Student Radio. And now, live from Studio 318, it's Border Battle with Jordan, the Great King, and CJ, the Viking Notch.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio KXZY, Sunlink Channel 112, YouTube Live Border Battle on Demand, Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. We're actually live today. Fridays are now a treat for us because we actually get to go live. We actually streaming live on Sunlink, actually streaming live on YouTube. We got that link up on our Facebook. We'll be up on our Twitter as well. Today, packed show. Obviously, last night, the first round of the NFL Draft, one of my favorite nights of the year besides Christmas Eve. Essentially is Christmas Eve, honestly, for me. And I know Chris feels somewhat similar, probably not to the same strength that I do, but that's all right. I'm kind of a freak when it comes to that. We'll get to ticker topics a little bit later in the hour. Segment 3, talk about some NBA action, a couple of good things we saw last night from the NFL Draft, and then something that a painful series for Chris's baseball team, the Minnesota Twins. We'll get to that in the ticker topic segments. Next segment, a new club in Tulsa, a women's soccer team, Fortuna Tulsa, came and talked yesterday morning on campus. Thank you, Director Professor Craig Freeman, for getting them in, talking to a sports PR class, Gina Noble's sports PR class. That was a really fun thing. I went and filmed part of that. You'll hear a little bit of that talk before we get Anna Beffer, who we're super glad is joining us today. That'll be a good interview in segment 2. We'll have longer clips of that talk that was yesterday on our YouTube channel at some point, but just haven't had the time yet to cut that up. So you'll hear a little bit, and then we'll have Anna on for about 15 minutes for the segment 2. And then we'll finish out with some more draft talk, because you can't have too much draft talk on Friday after the first round. So, Chris, we're going to jump right into it here. Baker Mayfield goes number 1. After everything that we heard yesterday, does this even shock you?
It doesn't, and I know someone was telling me there's rumors that way earlier already that I forget the GM for the Browns, John Dorsey, that he was already set in stone. Like, he knew Baker was the guy. There's these reports coming out that, this has been planned for a long time. This, Josh Allen, all these other guys were just, kind of fake news that they were plugging in.
It's fake news. I like that.
Potentially. So it's I don't know. I'm not really surprised.
There was a report yesterday that John Dorsey made up his mind 6 weeks ago. He told the owner a month ago, and just told Hugh Jackson 2 days ago. So we're talking about a GM that is really not letting the cat out of the bag to anyone, even the front, his other guys in the front office. So it'll be interesting, because this is a little bit of a risk, but I think there's a lot of upside in drafting Baker Mayfield.
That's what I say. He's putting himself on the line, because if Baker can't be a good pocket passer, then he's going to look real bad, especially if Rosen and Allen can do really well in the pocket. Then it's going to look bad. But, yeah, like you said, there's so much upside that it's worth the risk.
Yeah, and so if you're a GM, a head coach, you're always going to be tied to the quarterbacks in your system. That's why they needed to move on from DeShone Kizer, because even though he was a bright up-and-coming star, you don't necessarily see him as a guy that you want to tie your future to, because at the end of the day, as a GM, as a head coach, your future and your success, your job, is all based on the quarterback and how the quarterback performs, because at the end of the day, you're not going to win if you don't have a quarterback. So I think it was worth the risk, as you said, to draft Baker Mayfield. That means Saquon Barkley goes number 2, something that a lot of people had mocked here, but we weren't really sure till the day of if it was going to be Saquon, Bradley Chubb. Should they go quarterback? They probably should have, but they end up going Saquon Barkley.
I'm actually okay with this now that I really think it out, and from what other people I've heard say too is, Eli's 36 or somewhere around that age, And yes, you're going on your last go around with Eli. Let's be honest here. He's got a few years left, and that's it. But I think you can find someone to groom as well. I don't know per se if you needed to look right to the future. Not that like if you pick someone second, they have to start anyways. That's not always the goal when you pick a quarterback that high. I just think in the new era of NFL, like if you're picked in the top 5, top 10, you're most likely starting. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I think as long as they get one in the second round, as long as there's a good, valuable pick, maybe Mason falls to them. I don't, just throwing names out. I don't know, but I don't know. I like it. It spreads it with OBJ coming back, hopefully healthy, and then you have the threat of Saquon Barkley. It's going to help Eli. The O-line also does make me a little worried because that's kind of been a patchwork of things. So
there was a draft. Someone gave draft grades out last night, right after, as soon as the picks happened, and the initial draft grade given to the Giants was a B- for Saquon Barkley because their offensive line is so bad. Even with getting Nate Soldier, or Solder, however you say it, even getting him, he's a good veteran offensive lineman. You still have some concerns there as far as what Saquon Barkley is going to be running behind, and there were times in college where his tape was not very good. And also, people say he was a transcendent talent. You have to take him high in this draft, blah, 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 blah. I understand that. But people were saying very similar things about Trent Richardson. They said this guy cannot bust. He's unbustable. This guy's got a floor that is going to carry him to a 10-year NFL career for sure. Well, that didn't happen. Trent Richardson was awful in the NFL. So we can look at the rest of the top 10, and then I want to ask you, Chris, out of the rest of the top 10, you have Darnold going 3, Josh Allen going 6, and then Rosen going 10. Which one stands out to you the most?
It's actually Bradley Chubb with Denver, and just because, you got Case Keenum. I mean, to me, it looks bad if all of a sudden you're drafting a quarterback at 5, because then, you're just paying Keenum all this money to almost be like, okay, yes, you want a successor, and I get it, but to me, if I sign this big contract, I'm looking like, okay, now you're going to get a top 5 quarterback that's probably going to take my position. Potentially could be fighting for my spot that I figured I was getting. That's why I signed the contract I did. But when you have Chubb, if you can put him on one end and you have Von Miller on the other, if Bradley Chubb, I know he's drawn more comparisons to plays for the Texans.
Jadeveon
Clowney. That, I mean, if he can kind of put it together, him and Von Miller coming off the edges could be like, I mean, Denver has kind of disseminated their defense a little bit with trading, Talib and some of the others. But, I mean, if you can get pressure on the quarterback, I mean, that can sometimes make all the difference. So, I don't know. It was more intriguing to me just because the pairing.
Yes, for sure. It's intriguing. I think you missed out on a chance to take Quentin Nelson here. I understand the Bradley Chubb pick. I don't like that everyone's saying it's going to be Von Miller and Bradley Chubb all the time, though, because as soon as Von Miller's contract up, I don't think Denver extends him unless he's willing to take a team-friendly deal. And at that point in his career, he's got his Super Bowl already. Why would you take any less money than you have to? So I'm interested to see if that was just a safety net or if they fully intend to keep Von Miller around. But there's no one better to learn from for Bradley Chubb. So I think you make a good point there. Here's the interesting thing. If you're the Giants or the Denver Broncos, I understand not taking a quarterback and wanting to make a run with the guys that you have. But here's the problem with that. Let me take it from the Giants' perspective. Everyone says, well, the Giants can take a quarterback in the second, or they can wait years ahead to take their quarterback. What if they're good for the next 2 years, and then they want to move on from Eli? What if they're good and they're drafting 30th overall in 2 years, and at the top of the draft, there's 3 stud quarterbacks? They're going to be kicking themselves for not taking a Sam Darnold or Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, whoever your guy is. They're going to be kicking themselves because they're going to have to endure another season like they just did.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and to add to that, I'm looking right here on CBS Sports. They had a thing someone had here. Giants foolishly go all in with Eli Manning by taking Saquon Barkley because, like you said, they were a 3-win team last year, and I get it. You had your whole wide receiving core was injured. I understand that, but at the same time, you have to remember your roster was so bad, so patchwork together that you are almost in a sense being foolish by Eli's got maybe 3 years left in the league, but he's past his prime.
By the way. It's not like you have an easy path to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
even if you come back healthy and come back playing well this year, you still have to deal with the Philadelphia Eagles in your division. You still have to deal with the Dallas Cowboys, who, for all you want to complain about Jerry Jones, he's made some good moves here. Getting rid of Dez at the price he was at was a good move. Getting rid of Tony Romo at his age was a good move. This guy, Jerry Jones, has made some good decisions. Now, we'll get to his draft pick in just a second here, but I just think that the Giants could come back 5 years from now and say, man, we really should not have taken Saquon Barkley with this pick. I want to talk about Josh Rosen real quick before we get to the rest of the first round. Josh Rosen falls to number 10. I thought this was a brilliant pick by the Atlanta Cardinals. They're able to move up.
Arizona
Cardinals. I'm sorry. Arizona Cardinals. I thought this was phenomenal. They move up. They don't give up that much. And they're still able to get, arguably, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the draft, the best pure thrower in the draft. Now he comes out and says, there were 9 mistakes made ahead of me. He's a little bit cocky. But you knew that's what Josh Rosen is. That's the kind of guy that you're going to draft. If Baker Mayfield goes here, what is Baker saying? He's saying there's nine mistakes ahead of me, right? So Josh Rosen, good value, obviously, at number 10, tremendous value. And I think you're going to make a real impact down in Arizona.
And I think it takes a little pressure off him as well. Because now instead of having the pressure, you're number 1, which I think he would have been fine with it with the pressure, but in the sense of now you're your 10th pick, like you said, you got the chip on the shoulder, there's 9 teams that pass on me. So it also gives him more of a, an edge to okay, fine, you passed on me, maybe he'll, when he faces especially those 9 teams, he'll be like, okay, hey, you passed on me, I'm about to show you, whenever he actually, I'm assuming he'll kind of stay behind at least Bradford until he gets injured after week 1.
That's what I said.
Something like that.
He's going to play year 1 because you can't trust Sam Bradford to be healthy.
Yeah, and I do want to say another good one was actually I like the Colts picking up Quentin Nelson at 6 just because Andrew Luck needs protection and starting
Obviously.
on the inside. Starting on the inside is where you have to start. Inside out. That's how you kind of want to build your line at times. Your blind side.
You want your left tackle number 1. You need left tackle number 1. But obviously a generational kind of talent here at guard, Quentin Nelson. I agree with you. Obviously, they would have much rather liked to have gone, I believe, Denzel Ward or Bradley Chubb, but those 2 guys off the board. You take the clear best player available. That's Quentin Nelson. All right, we're going to get a couple of these rest of the first round picks in, and then we'll address the rest of it at the end of the show. But I want to take a look at some other notable picks here in the first round. I want to start off with the Saints. They trade up. They give up next year's first round pick to my Packers and get Marcus Davenport. I thought for sure they were either trading up for a quarterback of the future to groom behind Drew Brees. Maybe they liked Mason Rudolph. Maybe they liked Lamar Jackson. But Marcus Davenport, a raw, although very talented, a raw prospect, really.
Yeah, I know because I was watching the draft as well, and I saw that because like you had said too. Oh, they're thinking about quarterback to groom, and I was like, this maybe this is like a Mason Rudolph type of scenario. Just someone that's not meant to start right away, but I mean to learn behind Drew Brees and everything. But yeah, and then they're like, oh, Marcus Davenport, and I was like, what?
I don't know why you give up 2 first-round picks for a guy like Marcus Davenport. It does make heck of a lot of sense to me. Another pick that I want to talk about real quick here before we get to a break, Leighton Vander Esch goes to the Dallas Cowboys. He is incredibly talented, incredibly athletic, sideline-to-sideline guy. I think it's a good pick for Dallas if he's able to stay healthy. But now you have Sean Lee, perennial guy that gets hurt. You have Leighton Vander Esch, a guy that's had some injury concerns. I wonder if you've built your team with too many injury concerns on that defensive side of the ball, because all Dallas fans have talked about, and rightfully so, is how good their defense could have been if Sean Lee could have stayed healthy. Now, what are the odds both of them get hurt? For Dallas, I mean, you hope not, but I think it's a risky pick, but it could have a ton of reward in the long run.
Yeah, no, I agree. But that's the thing with injuries. If they don't get injured, it's a genius pick. But again, it's a double-edged sword. You're either going to win it or you're going to lose it.
Every pick outside of the top 10, really, and even any pick outside of the top couple is going to be more risk probably than reward at some point in the draft. So I think that's what you look for. I think they could get a really good player if he's able to stay healthy in Leighton Vander Esch. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Anna Beffer, formerly of Cowgirl Soccer, and now with Fortuna Tulsa. That's next on the Border Battle on KXCY.
try and make a difference to Tulsa players and support the city that supports us.
Here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building, you're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio KXCY. I'm King, he's CJ between us, and a Beffer, former Cowgirl soccer player and now with Fortuna Tulsa. So that was Wayne Farmer, the GM of Fortuna Tulsa, and he talked about a few things, and we'll get to all of them throughout the interview here. But starting off, what attracted you to Fortuna Tulsa?
I initially didn't know about it. I got a call from their now head coach, Michael Wilson, and he kind of told me their vision and told me what they were all about and kind of what they wanted with the season. And he came up and we had lunch, and it was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of. It's really cool. They're trying to keep Tulsa kids in Tulsa, and Tulsa has a lot of talent, and they have a lot of girls that have played at a really high level across the whole country. And I think it's awesome that they're trying to keep that talent in Tulsa. And, kind of build, a local team and kind of get something that hopefully the city can get behind, and as much as the girls are getting behind. So that was kind of, it worked out for my timeline, and it was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of. And just kind of their inaugural season, I think it'll be exciting for the soccer community, and just kind of moving forward, hopefully it'll attract some buzz. But
Now, yesterday you talked about growing up in Tulsa, and you said you've played some of the best players in the country that aren't even getting national team recognition or stuff like that because it's such a difficult thing to do. Talk about that a little bit for everyone who wasn't in the room for that, and then also what is this just a stepping stone for Fortuna Tulsa? What is their kind of outlook on that? Are they trying to be a stepping stone, and where do you fit into that?
So I was just kind of talking yesterday about how just the level, there's so many good players that kind of fall through the cracks. And I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of really talented players that have, made me the kind of player that I am, and hopefully, continue to be. And I think it's just important that those girls are able to get exposure, and it's difficult to get exposure, obviously. There's not a lot of opportunity in the U.S. for women's soccer, and I think Fortuna is trying to take that to the next level and really, help the girls out to have that kind of experience and get them that exposure. And I think long term, they're just trying to kind of be a gateway and kind of just allow the girls to have a good professional experience, whether that be just with semi-pro, whether that be post-college, or just continue to playing or take it to the next level. For me personally, they're just trying to help me, enjoy the game, stay fit, and potentially gain exposure to play at that next level, which is my end goal. So they've done everything they can, and I, can't thank them enough so far, and we haven't even played a game yet. So I'm really excited, and they've put a lot behind it, and they're just trying to expose the talent in Tulsa and, show everyone what kind of local talent that we have.
So then, before us coming to OSU, you played with the TSC Hurricanes and under Coach Schubert and Donovan Bradshaw. What's it like now knowing that Donovan Bradshaw is the first assistant? Is that kind of maybe like a safety net, or kind of cool to know, now he's followed you to this next level of it?
Yeah, I had a blast playing for Carrie and Donovan. They had a huge impact on me as a player, and I keep in touch with both of them. I've kept in touch with a lot of the coaches throughout my career and at my OSU career, and I'm extremely excited to play for him again. I'm really happy for him. I know he's really excited about this position, and I think he'll be a really great asset to the team. And we have a great relationship, and I really like all the coaches that they have. I think they've picked a really good staff, and I think it's good as a player too to kind of, be coached by other coaches and kind of learn the game, differently, and be exposed to new things. And so I think that'll be good for me as well. I've never been coached by Michael Wilson or Michael Moritz, and so I think that'll be good for me as a player to kind of expand, my soccer knowledge and learn from someone else. And Donovan, has obviously helped me become a player that I am today, so that can only help. But they have a great staff, and they have a great management team, and I think it'll be really good.
You're now the face of Fortuna Tulsa. Many people would suggest you're the first player signed for them. Any added pressure when it comes to being the first player for a franchise?
There's always a little pressure. You want to give I want to represent them well and do what they brought me in to do. But to be honest, they've been really supportive, and I feel really comfortable there. And I think for me as a player, I've matured a lot in college, and you kind of have to just do the best you can and know that everything's going to fall into place. And I think if I do what I've been doing, and I'm surrounded by a lot of really good girls, and I mean, again, soccer is a team sport, and the roster that we have is unreal. We have a lot of really good girls, and I know that I think it'll be a good cohesive group, and there's a lot of respect in within the team. But no, I mean, I can't wait to play, and I know that the girls will all be really supportive of each other, and the coaches, want you to succeed, and they want you to enjoy the experience and have fun. So I didn't really feel a ton of pressure. Obviously, we want to win games, and that's why we're in the league, and we have goals that we've set that we want to achieve. But I think if we all just kind of buy in and have the same mindset, I think that it'll be a good season.
Overall, Wayne talked about these 3 pillars. The first one is supporting the city that supports you. Mm-hmm. And do you think, obviously, with the obvious takeaway that I took away from that was, Wayne and this, all of these people want to make sure that women's soccer grows in this country and continues to grow in this country. Do you think Tulsa is a city that will be receptive to a women's soccer team at a next level? At a level like this, kind of semi-pro, do you think that's a receptive city that's going to be receptive? And then talk about what Fortuna Tulsa is going to do to give back to the city of Tulsa. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great market. I think there's a lot of youth soccer in Tulsa, boys and girls. And, for me growing up, I didn't have that team to kind of look up to. It was really only college. And when I grew up, I would, occasionally go watch Oklahoma State and Stillwater or watch TU. But there really weren't a lot of options for girls to kind of have those players to look up to. And like I said, there's a lot of talent in Tulsa. And I think that it's a really, really good place to have a team like this. And kind of with how their vision and what they've already planned on doing and how they plan on being involved in the community, I think it can only be a good thing for the city. And I'm really excited. I've already, it's fun to go out and meet girls that are excited about it. We've spent a lot of time at local tournaments and just kind of meeting with local teams, and they're all excited. And I think that's just a really cool thing for girls to have, a team to kind of get excited about and have a more intimate experience with. If you're with a big, like I love Wayne Rooney. Will I ever meet him? Probably not.
Right.
But I think it's kind of cool at a local level to kind of just have that experience. And yeah, they've spent a lot of time making sure that their presence is known, but not just for media purposes. They've done a lot of things behind the scenes just to show their support through the community, through every different organization I can think of. Just since we've started, I know Wayne has been working like crazy just to kind of meet with everyone and make everyone kind of feel, I don't want to say feel special, but I think it's incredible how every season ticket holder they've personally delivered the tickets. And I think that says a lot because they want that, they want to go the extra mile, and they really want to make an impact, not just with soccer, but show that we support the city. And I know that the ownership group is, they love Tulsa, and they want to keep the girls in Tulsa, and they want to support everyone in Tulsa. And that's really cool too. Just growing up in Tulsa, they kind of have the same love and passion for it that I do. And I think it's going to be a good thing, and I hope that people realize that they are, genuine in their approach, and they really care about this city. And I think it will translate with the fans on the field too, because if they see that same passion that we have for the city, and if we put our time in off the field too, that they'll come back and support us in the same way that we did. So.
Well, I mean, Wayne did drive an hour and a half to Stillwater to present to a PR class. I mean, I think there is definitely some passion there to create this relationship. So,
yeah. So talking more about, I guess, professional athletes and stuff, is there an athlete that you've looked up to, whether it was from soccer or a different sport, and then with your soccer game, is there maybe an athlete that you've maybe mimicked or kind of copied their style that you've kind of taken in and made your own style as well?
Mm-hmm. Growing up, my favorite player was actually Ronaldinho. He played for Brazil, and I really liked, honestly, just how happy he was and kind of how creative he was. And everyone will tell you, whether you're an athlete or you're just a working professional or whatever you're doing, there are some days where, you're just like, why am I doing this? Or you have, those rough days. And I think kind of growing up and watching him just enjoy himself and try new things on the field and make, defenders look stupid. I loved watching him, and I kind of wanted to be like that. So that's kind of who I would say I most tried to model my play after. But I mean, there have been a lot of influences in my life, even girls that I've watched play that are just a few years older than me. But yeah, I've just tried to kind of use his creativity and love for the game and kind of translate it into my own, and kind of remember that, and just remember that if you're having fun and being creative, that good things will happen, and if it doesn't work out, you just laugh and keep going. But yeah, that's probably the biggest professional that I've looked up to growing up, and still do. And there are a lot of others. Tobin Heath on the girls' side was kind of an influence for me. She's kind of the same way. I love watching her and just kind of how she handles herself and her creativity on the field as well. So I kind of try and be more technical. That's kind of what I focus on as a player, and I want to, have good soccer knowledge and be able to read the game well. And so that's kind of what I try to do. But yeah, I've definitely picked a few things, hopefully up from those professionals, and tried to influence or impact it in my game. So
obviously, the technical and the mental side of the game is something that Oklahoma State's going to miss, and Fortuna Tulsa not just getting a local kid, but getting Anna Beffer, the essentially one of the top probably handful of offensive players in the country. When you talk about your output last year, assists second in the country, you led the team in points, and pretty good shooting percentage as well. When you look at that, taking that to the next level, what is the next step for you in your personal development as a soccer player?
Yeah, to be honest, this past season for me, it was kind of crazy how it happened the way it did, because I went into the season with kind of a whole different mindset than I'd ever gone into a season with. Which sounds cliche, but it was senior year, and I knew that I could produce more. I knew that I had more in me, but I wanted to enjoy the season. And for me, going out there every game and just kind of taking a breath and enjoying it was a big thing for me. And I want to continue to do that. And I think when I do that and I'm focused on enjoying myself and trying new things and being creative, that's when I'm at my best. And so just moving forward with whichever team I play for, I think if I, I'm going to have good players around me to, help make me better, and just to have a good time and continue to try new things. And that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of crazy how it all happened, because every season's different. And last season it just kind of all, it all fell in place for me. And so I think that kind of gives me some momentum moving forward, and definitely some confidence. But I'm really excited, and we have a good group of girls that I'm going to get to play with, and I can't wait, because that's a big part of it as well. I had a great team behind me that helped me. So,
real quick, I want to finish off with, Fortuna Tulsa said it's about after playing days, and they're getting you some contacts in the actual real world for what you want to do. Can you just talk about that real quick?
Yeah, that's incredible what they're doing, honestly, because I've already met with a lot of really great business professionals that have given me advice, and it's good to hear, because as an athlete trying to continue on, I'm really excited about my professional career. I definitely want a career not in sports, well, not in being the athlete, but and they've kind of given me advice on that's okay, and I can go pursue that dream and then come back and have a professional career, and they'll help me they'll do everything they can to help make that happen. So it's good to have that to fall back on and know that they'll support me in that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking out a few minutes. Anna Beffer, she's trading in America's brightest orange for the sky blue of Fortuna Tulsa, and Fortuna Tulsa very lucky to have you as the face of their franchise early on here. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get you caught up on what we got caught up on, including some ticker topics, Bucks forcing Game 7, and this great story from the NFL Draft last night. Well, all of that next on the Border Battle on KXZY.
Against Kansas in that win, 12 threes made. Against OU, 9 threes made. Against Baylor, both times they played them, 5 threes.
Falling into this role, I kind of like it. Just any chance I get to throw for this team, I go out there and help them out in any way possible. I love to do that for them.
Is it disappointing for this team to know that they could potentially, if given the opportunity, have success in March, but the thing is it's looking less and less like they're actually going to get there?
I mean, you're dealing with right now, the premier softball program in the nation in Oklahoma.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio KXCY, live streaming on Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live, Border Battle On Demand, Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. If you're trying to find us on Twitter, that's Twitter.com/Border Battle OSU. Thanks again to Anna Beffer for joining us, taking a few minutes out of her day to come talk to us about the new club in Tulsa, Fortuna FC. Kind of a cool club, grassroots club. We'll try to get that interview up as soon as we can because that was Wayne Farmer, their GM, had 3 distinct pillars that this club has set out to do. One of them is helping the players after graduation, or after the playing days are over. So that's really cool. In my opinion, for Tulsa, and they're getting a good club and, like I said, good face of the franchise to start it off. All right, Chris, some ticker topics here today. Let's start us off in the NBA. Just one game last night. Thank goodness there wasn't more games to take away from the NFL draft. I'm sure the ratings sucked on this game. The Bucks 97, the Boston Celtics 86. Are we going to see a road team win in this series, or does Boston finish it out at home in Game 7?
I don't know. Like, pardon me.
Who has more momentum in your mind?
Well, it's the Bucks because they just won one, but at the same time, I think because yes, the Bucks won by 11, but I still feel like it was a close battle in a sense. Like the score doesn't do justice to how competitive towards the end it was. Again, you have to remember too, at the end of games, it could be a 3 or 4 point game, but if the Bucks, let's say, keep hitting their free throws and the Celtics don't hit their shots, I mean, it is going to fluctuate to 11-point victory. But I don't know with the way this has been going. I don't know if I see the Bucks winning on the road. It's just been a back and forth thing. I saw an interview earlier today. Chris Middleton had said that he's like, I wish we could take our fans with.
Yeah,
because that would help, and maybe that's part of the thing too. Is which when you're home, you feed off your fans. That's what gets you going and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if I see the Bucks winning, but history would probably tell me that, hey, you know what, the Bucks will actually do it this time.
History will not tell you that. The Bucks are not a very good road playoff team. That's all right though. It stinks because the Bucks would have won. It should have been to win the series last night if they don't foul Giannis out in Game 1. But I won't dwell on that very long. Giannis shot 23 times last night. I said after Game 2. You cannot go through a game where Giannis shoots 10 times. You cannot do it. He shoots 13 of 23, fairly efficient, not overwhelmingly efficient, but fairly efficient, and 31 points for him, 14 boards. This is the Giannis you need in the playoffs, and this is the Giannis you need to go on the road in the playoffs. People forget, just because Giannis has been in the league for 4 or 5 years now, I forget what it is, he's still only 22 years old. He's still a kid. So you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about Giannis, or 23, whatever he is. Got to keep that in mind when you're talking about a guy who is still learning how to play in the NBA, which is scary for the rest of the league. He's still learning how to play in the NBA. Jabari Parker comes off the bench, only shoots 10 shots. Bledsoe, somehow they got him to only take 10 shots, but he only made 3. Look, Malcolm Brogdon is the best point guard on this team. He is. 5 of 7. Got to the line 7 times, shot 5 of 7 there, 16 points and 6 boards. He is the best point guard on the team. So it's good for him. Thon Maker gets the start last night, 25 minutes at home. I do share your concern though with the Bucks on the road. I do, and also it's not just the Bucks going on the road; it's the Celtics playing at home, because you expect Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Is it Jaylen Brown? Is that right? Yeah, Jaylen Brown. Just making sure I'm not thinking of the wrong guy here. You expect those two to maybe play a little bit worse on the road, and you might expect them to play a little bit worse in a Game 7 scenario since they're such young players. Rozier and Horford, there's really no excuse. There's no excuse for Al Horford to go 4 for 8, only shoot 8 times, and only score 10 points.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, yeah, you're
this
totally
is
right.
a veteran. You need to take the game by the scruff of the neck, kind of like I criticize Giannis about. You need to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and you need to score. When your team isn't, when it's not falling for Rozier, who went 5 of 17, you got to be able to step up and fill that void. So again, Morris comes off the bench with 14 points, but let's get your pick.
Who's gonna win Game
Bucks
7?
or Celtics in Game 7?
Just because it's at home, I'm going Celtics. That's just how it's gonna end. It's just gonna be the Celtics. I think though too, and you might agree, you might not. Whoever ends up, whether it's the Cavs or the Pacers, getting this team, whatever team wins in the Bucks Celtics, I think will have it pretty easy, potentially, depending on if Celtics Pacers go 7. If the Pacers can pull one out tonight, go 7, then both teams will have both played 7. But if the 4 or 5 seed would have, let's say, swept, no matter what, I think the Bucks Celtics, you're going to be tired.
Which one of these teams matches up better with LeBron?
It's the Bucks.
So
a lot of it's because of Giannis.
Honestly, if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I do not want any part of the Bucks in the second round.
Yeah,
I want Boston in round
honestly,
2.
I think it's safe to say for either Pacers or the Cavs, because I think Giannis could disrupt the Pacers even worse, because Oladipo has been getting shut down right now by LeBron or whoever, and that's not the same size as Giannis.
Yeah, and yeah.
Which, I mean, Giannis doesn't have the physical size, but he's got the length.
Yeah, no, absolutely he does. And I think it's going to be Cleveland winning. That's why I kind of said that. Do you think Cleveland and Toronto close out the series tonight? And Utah, I guess, same thing. Do you see all those series closing out?
I think so. I would love to see the Pacers go 7, but I don't know with the whole, how the game ended. Game 5 ended. All momentum with the Cavs, and I think LeBron's just gonna be like, hey, you know what? It's time to put you guys away. Like night. Like we're going bye. So
yeah, I agree with you there. All right, let's move on. Something at the NFL draft that was really cool. Ryan Shazier last night able to walk to the podium. He needed some help, but able to walk to the podium and deliver the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was really cool because if you saw that hit, this is a big step in Ryan Shazier's recovery, and I didn't want this to fall to the wayside because I thought this was really, really cool to watch. And he says he wants to play again. I would never say don't go for it. But I hope that at the end of the day, he makes a good decision for himself for the rest of his life, because it's already incredible, miraculous what he has done so far. And if he works his way back and continues to work hard like we know he will, I could see him playing in the NFL again. But that's his decision, and I would never tell someone not to. I just hope he makes the right one.
No, yeah, it's good, and I know they said on the broadcast too that he wants to play again, and at the same time, if you want to play, okay, who am I to say no? But yeah, you hope that maybe he thinks, okay, you got to think in long term. Which, I mean, if you have the love for the game, and if you still want to play, good for him. But yeah, I thought it was phenomenal for him to be able to walk, even with help, to be as far as he is right now in his recovery process and everything. It just shows the will that he has. But it also shows that we're all human, and that the NFL is it's a dangerous game, and it's unfortunate that these accidents happen, but it's kind of, it's what comes with the game.
We all saw the hit, and obviously I certainly did not think at this point in the recovery process he would be walking. All right, let's move on to some baseball. A trio of walk-offs yesterday. Pretty entertaining Thursday in baseball, unless you're a Twins, Tigers, or let's see here.
Royals.
I believe the Phillies, were the other team to get walked off against. Not the Phillies, but so the Yankees get Gary Sanchez. to absolutely hit a mammoth shot to clear a 3-run home run to beat your Twins. The Pirates, I believe that was Dickerson with the walk-off home run, and then Dexter Fowler against the Mets for the St. Louis Cardinals with the walk-off shot. That is a mammoth home run by Gary Sanchez. Did you watch that live? I feel so bad. We were in class together, and I was so excited for you. Your Twins were finally up against the Yankees. By the way, one of the worst Gatorade showers you're ever likely to see. Give us your thoughts late in that game, Chris.
Here's my problem with the Twins. Fernando Rodney. Like,
there's only one? There's only one problem?
Okay, yeah, if you don't score, we are like one of the worst scoring teams, and the average might be a little off because we haven't played the same amount of games, but I'm not even using that as an excuse. This team can't hit worth a dime. Like, Joe Mauer has been just horrendous this past few weeks.
Hey, watch what you say about Mauer. That's a legend.
Hey, yeah, I know he's a legend, but still, like, again, it's his contract. I would be okay with him being gone, him being shipped off. I'd be okay with it. I think it's a little too late to get a lot for him now, but I know he's a hometown guy. But no, Fernando Rodney, the biggest question with him was, could he actually close out a game? He's struggled the past few years. What's he showing again? He's blown 2 or 3 already now. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, why do you think Minnesota fans just hate their lives sometimes when it comes to this sports stuff? Because they get broken again and again and again. I mean,
you had the Minneapolis Miracle. That should tide you over for the next 25 years, Chris.
Oh, that and the Minnesota Lynx. But no one wants to give the Lynx any credit because they're WNBA. That's just.
We talked about a couple other walk-offs last night. The St. Louis Cardinals get one from Dexter Fowler, and then Dickerson for the Pirates. Technically, by percentage, the St. Louis Cardinals are ahead of the Milwaukee Brewers. They're tied right now in the NL Central. 16-10 the Brewers, 15-9 the Cardinals. Where do you see this race going? And obviously, you still put the Cubs in there, who are 2 games back. You still put them in there as well. Where do you see this division going, shaking out?
I think it's gonna be a wrap between the Brewers and the Cubs. It'd be interesting to see how they play at Wrigley. The Brewers do
lost 1-0 yesterday. Unfortunately, Chase Anderson, another quality start, goes 7 innings, only gives up a couple hits, gives up 1 run, and unfortunately, the Brewers bats can't get going in Wrigley, which happens fairly often. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're back to the NFL draft. Talk about that. Kind of preview maybe what we should do, what our team should do in round 2 and 3 tonight. That's next on the Border Battle on KXCY.
What is arts and sciences?
We aren't all about the arts.
We like to think of ourselves as explorers.
From exploring the human mind
to discerning the building blocks of the universe.
We don't just read books.
We don't just sit in the classroom.
And we don't just solve problems.
We seek to give everyone a voice.
In a variety of approaches.
We tackle the big issues.
By understanding complex social structures.
And even understand the small ones.
We take passions to new heights.
But stay grounded.
We tell stories.
Of the past. Of the present.
And work to predict the future.
We like to think with a little preparation. Some dirt under the fingernails.
And some self-analysis. You can do anything.
With nearly 100-degree plans to choose from.
Where will your arts and science degree take you?
Connect, achieve, succeed.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome, football fans, to the 2018 NFL Draft, Texas style. I can't believe you guys are booing the Cowboys.
Wow, that is loud. That is normally we can't hear much what's getting said in the videos. Holy man, that is loud. I'm sure they amped it up though a little bit on TV. Jerry probably made him do it. Jerry ordered the volume to go up a little bit. Welcome back into Studio 318. I'm King, he's CJ. This is the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio KXZY. Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live, Border Battle on Demand, Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. So, Chris, we're talking back about the NFL Draft. By the way, let's not act like this is something unique to Dallas hating Roger Goodell. They might be the loudest, but every team hates Roger Goodell. So let's get that out of the way. You're not special, Dallas fans. Just kidding. You're all absolutely special in our hearts. Chris, let's talk about a couple other things that happened in the first round. I want to talk about my Packers pick. They trade down, get the first round pick, trade up, and then get rid of their third round pick this year, as well as like a 6th round pick for a 7th round pick this year as well. And they get Jair Alexander. Your Vikings take a cornerback as well. Hughes.
Yep, Mike Hughes.
Mike Hughes, a guy that I really liked. Talk about Mike Hughes and then talk about Jair Alexander for the Packers.
Yeah, Hughes, he's talented, and I know you and I actually talked about this earlier today. I think it shows that maybe the Trey Waynes thing is potentially out of here, or that he's at least not getting an extension anyways. The only thing that really concerns me was Hughes' off the field stuff, but I was reading somewhere that he actually was open about it and like let teams know that was a thing. So to me, that's actually a good sign. It shows that, hey, I'm not afraid to admit like this happened. This is out there. I'm not trying to hide it, and maybe he's turned the corner, which again, though, with Mike Zimmer, should someone really be worried? Maybe not, because Mike Zimmer's not going to take any of that crap anyways.
You would hope.
You would hope. I just don't think so. Like,
it depends. It depends. You can't always say that about a guy until one of his impactful players does it.
Yeah,
it's easy to say. It's easy to say John Lynch will, shy away from domestic violence, and then when your best player does it, then you don't want to necessarily because winning is everything. But I think you're right. I think people were talking about Mike Hughes potentially going to the Packers at 14. So I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people were making it out to be in the media. Jair Alexander to the Packers.
I think this is a great fit. Again, cornerback, it's a position you need. You need to be able to go against the other team's top wide receivers, contain people. So I think this is a great fit. The Packers had to start somewhere, and so
let's not talk like the Packers are like a bottom feeder here. But okay,
defensive wise, you have to start somewhere. Fair enough.
Continue.
Kind of. Okay. But no. So I think it's a good fit. I think it'll be good for him. He's going to get the experience right off the bat.
Absolutely.
And
first-year starter.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it's a great pick by the Packers.
Got a couple of veterans in the locker room as well this offseason, so that's important for the Packers. You have Kevin King, who, if he can stay healthy, he's the tallest corner in the league. Now you add him with a guy that ran a 4.38 at the Combine in Jair Alexander. Alexander going to have some return duties you'd certainly expect for the Packers, maybe some punt and kick returning. He returned a couple back to the house in 2016 for Louisville. Great pick for the Packers, in my opinion, worth giving up a third-round draft choice and picking up a first-round pick next year. So, again, in the GM interview at the end of the night, Brian Gutekunst, the new GM of the Packers, said, look, we were going to take him at 14. He's one of the guys at 14. Now you're able to get extra first-round pick next year. If you want to continue to bolster this Mike Pettin defense that's going to get loads of pressure, these cornerbacks, these young athletic cornerbacks, I think are just absolutely going to thrive. All right, let's talk about day 2 now, Chris. Some interesting names went at the end of round 1. Rashad Penny, running back from San Diego State. No one expected. He was like a mid to late second, early third round guy. He goes in the first round to the Seattle Seahawks, and then Sony Michel, great position for him. He goes to New England. That's a great position for Sony Michel. Concern about Michel, his left knee tested out a little loose at the Combine this year. What do you think about those two picks, and what is the next clear running back off the board for you? Because these two took me by these two absolutely shocked me.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Nick Chubb didn't go before Sony Michel, to be honest. Like, like I know he has the injury concern too.
Yeah.
I know there's that concern with both of the running backs from Georgia. I get that.
More so with Chubb though.
Oh, okay. Then I had to mix around because I thought Sony was the one that there's way more concern with than.
Well, Sony's had more of the injuries. Chubb had that big injury where he tore 3 different ligaments in his knee. Now, he didn't tear his ACL, but he tore everything else. So that's not good. You tear your meniscus, your LCL, MCL. You're pretty much, that's like the equivalent of your ACL. You're losing a ton of stability when you tear all of it. So that is concerning with Nick Chubb. The biggest one is Rashad Penny. I didn't think he was first-round talent at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's got quick speed. I saw, like, granted, the highlight, anytime you show highlights, it's going to be, like, their best thing.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, he's got the quickness. He can move. But, yeah, I know. I heard the name, too, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, San Diego State running back.
Like, San Diego State.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's less about San Diego State and more about what you see on tape with him. But I still do not see him as a first-round talent. So that was interesting.
I guess now to go on the next one, I think is Darius Geis. I think he would be the next one right off the bat, logical choice. But I still think Nick Chubb's up there as well, a potential one that could go. Maybe Ronald Jones from USC. But yeah, I don't know. I see Darius Geis, I guess, being the next running back off the board.
It'll be interesting to see if the Browns decide to go that route. The Browns, I'll read you off the top 10 picks of the second round here. Browns, Giants, Browns. So the Browns had 2 in the top 4 in the first round, 2 in the top 3 in the second round. So Browns, Giants, Browns, Colts, back-to-back, really high picks here for the Colts. Buccaneers, Bears, Broncos, Oakland Raiders, Miami Dolphins. So that's how the first round shakes out. And then people forget, now the New England Patriots have the 11th pick of the second round. So they could also make some more noise here as far as, do they take a Mason Rudolph? Do they grab the quarterback of the future here at number 11?
Yeah. Are you asking me?
When you look at the top 10 in the second round, what do you see some of these needs that need to be filled? You got 2 picks for the Browns, 2 picks for the Colts, and then you're the other of the top 10 teams.
Especially with the Browns, I think yes, you want to look for a running back, but I think then you can kind of look either at your O-line or your defense. You got to, again, we talked about this. You got to build both sides of the ball. Like you need defense to win. So I think they'll be smart though. I think if you get one like a running back and then you add, because I think their 4th pick was a defensive person as well. I believe Denzel Ward. So I think you just kind of go back and forth. What positions do you need either depth at or spots where they can kind of mold and grow a little bit.
Well, it's interesting because we saw 2 centers taken yesterday, and James Daniels is still on the board. He's a center from Iowa. That was the number 1 center ranked by a lot of people coming into it. So you talk about James Daniels still on the clock, Will Hernandez, a guy that thought maybe could be a top 10, 20 player, Harold Landry. The Packers pick at 13 in the second round. It might be interesting to see if the Packers move up to the top of the second to grab a guy like Harold Landry to kind of, finally force Clay Matthews out a little bit, because Clay Matthews at this point in his career is not giving you quite, in my opinion, quite the production you need. Josh Jackson also on the board. He's good value. Nick Chubb, Darius Geis, Dallas Goedert, guys like that.
Yeah, so I want to ask you kind of a 2-part question real quick.
Yep.
So obviously this is only the 3rd time ever that there's been at least 5 quarterbacks selected in the first round. 1983 was the first time, and they had 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks with Elway, Marino, and Kelly. And then 1999 was the other one, and they only had one of the first rounders had a winning record, and that was Donovan McNabb. Which then brings me now to the Joe Flacco. Wow, I'm thinking of the Ravens. To Lamar Jackson. Talk a little bit your opinion of the job that Ozzie Newsome has done, and kind of maybe what you think he's looking at doing by picking Lamar in the first round.
Interesting thing is Ozzie Newsome's at the end of his career. If this isn't, I believe this is his last year. If it's not, it's one of the next couple of years. He's at the end of his career. Generally, new GMs like their own quarterback. So I think it's interesting that he takes the quarterback of the future for his successor. I think that's kind of leaving him up a creek. If the new guy doesn't quite like, what Lamar Jackson brings to the table. But no, I think Lamar Jackson, if nothing else, it's going to light a fire under Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's been garbage over the past 5 years. He really has. And this is nothing against Joe Flacco as a player. He just hasn't been good. He's not been good, and he's a great leader for the team, and he's won them a Super Bowl. Great, cool. He's not been good over the past 5 years. So I could see Lamar Jackson playing this year. I really could. If Joe Flacco, it's not outrageous to think a first-round quarterback starts at some point in this career. Also, first time, I believe, in the NFL era, in the common draft era, that there's been 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. I think this class projects more to that bust class than it does to the Hall of Fame class. Honestly, I think it does. All right. We're getting told we got to get out of here, Chris. Plenty of the draft to come tonight. What's the next pick, next need for the Vikings? Real quick.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I'm going to say offensive line.
Offensive line. I like it. For the Packers, I hope they get someone else on defense. For the great crew around here, for Chris, thank you so much for joining us. You've been listening to The Border Battle on OSU Student Radio, KXZY.
Thank you.